All right, to discuss more, we have with us former Executive Director of WION Environmental Program, Erik Solheim, who is also a former Minister of Climate and the Environment of Norway. He's joining us from Oslo. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Now, we know that, let me begin by asking you how serious this issue has become for us and, of course, for the planet.
This is a very serious problem. I think everyone is basically aware that last year was the hottest year on record. And one way we see this is the lower water level in rivers all over the planet. A new report from World Meteorological Organization is highlighting this. The biggest water stress last year was in Africa and America. But we also saw somewhat lower water level in big Asian rivers like Ganga and Mekong. So this is very serious because water is the blood of humanity. It's the lifeline of all of us. Without water, agriculture, people, we will all suffer.
And also, it's interesting because major rivers are depleting, and on the other hand, we're seeing overflowing and causing floods. Do you think there's a relation between the two?
That's, of course, the kind of strange effect of climate change. It both tend to give more water and less water. So you see floodings in places like Pakistan a couple of years ago, or very recently in Central Europe, while drought in the Amazon or in China at the same time. So you get more water and less water for the same reason, which is climate change. I think many people, when they speak about climate change, they tend to focus on temperature. But that's not the main effect. Of course, if temperature rises, it also creates some harm. But the main effect of climate change is through water, more water, less water, floodings and droughts. And we need to step up our efforts to try to control this and, of course, to avoid it by struggling hard to avoid climate change.
Right. And that being said, according to you, what could be the immediate solution so that we can bring the rivers back to its healthy status?
Of course, the long-term solution is to avoid climate change. But there are some remedies humans can take, and let me just point to a few I've seen very recently. I was in Guyana in South America. The capital of Guyana, Georgetown, has now constructed a huge seawall made from mangroves, and that's to protect the inhabitants against storms and floods coming from the sea. But it goes exactly the same. You can do also against floodings coming from rivers. In China, I saw huge hydroelectrical dams. They are producing wonderful green energy for the people of China. But are also, of course, a way to regulate the water in the huge river of Yangtze, and make sure that there are no floodings, no drought, and a regular flow of the water. So indeed, the number one issue is we need to avoid climate change. But secondary, we can take measures like planting mangroves or regulating water through hydro plants.
Right. So that was a former Executive Director of WION Environment Program, Erik Solheim. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and giving your perspective.